Member for Burnaby North.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak in favour of the motion. Be it resolved that this House honour International Women's Day by reaffirming our commitment to building a world free of gender-based bias, violence and discrimination. And while I want to thank previous speakers for celebrating our hard-won victories, clearly we all agree that there's much more that needs to be done to close the equity gap. I want to expand on one particular path to equality, and that's the presence of women in political decision-making bodies. I'm going to make the case that to redress long-standing gender inequities and injustices, the voices, experiences, and expertise of women must be central to political decision-making, and women must be present as decision-makers in our political institutions. Or to put it another way, Mr. Speaker, if you're not at the table, then you're probably on the menu. Are women sufficiently present in our political institutions? Well, let's take a look. Starting with the House of Commons in Ottawa, the population of Canada is a little more than 50% women. So if women were represented equally in the House of Commons, we would expect half of the MPs to be women. Currently, only 30.5 of those seats are held by women, and Canada ranks only 52nd in the world when it comes to equitable representation in our political institutions. Well, what about BC? The population of BC is also a little more than 50% women, so we would expect that 50% of the seats in this chamber would be held by women. And Speaker, a record 37 women were elected in the most recent election. 42.5 of the seats in the BC legislature are currently held by women, the most women and the largest percentage of women elected in BC history. Mr. Speaker, I want to point out that 29 of the 37 of those women elected ran as BC NDP candidates. In fact, women hold the majority of seats in our caucus. For the first time ever in North America, there are more women than men in the governing caucus. Now, how did that happen? Not by chance. Our party has an equity mandate that specifies that when a BC NDP woman MLA chooses not to run for re-election, only another woman can run in her place. Our party's Women and Gender Rights Committee works with constituency associations between elections to recruit and support women candidates. We fundraise to help women candidates pay for childcare, campaign clothing, and other necessities that level the playing field. But equality isn't just about numbers. It's also about the experience. As one woman colleague put it, just because we're in the majority now, that doesn't make us equal. To achieve substantive gender equality in the legislature, we must take a hard look at our customs, traditions, structures and procedures and ask if they are unwelcoming to women and other outsiders, undervalue our contributions, and make unnecessary hard to do our jobs. I'm the chair of the British Columbia branch of Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians. CWP develops and implements programs to encourage and support more women to run for office, to identify the barriers that discourage us from running, and to recommend ways to overcome those barriers. Our Secretariat in London, England has prepared a set of gender-sensitizing guidelines, standards, and a checklist for parliamentary change. Some parliaments in other countries have already conducted gender audits, made changes, and are increasing the participation of women as a result. I'm proud to say that in 2020, the BC legislature conducted the first step in a gender audit, and now 4 other jurisdictions in Canada are following suit. The next step is to conduct a more in-depth investigation. It will ask questions such as, are there unwritten traditions, norms, codes, and rituals that would exclude outsiders? Are children welcome and cared for? Are parents able to participate virtually or by proxy? Does the definition of unparliamentary language explicitly include sexism and gendered bullying? Are women represented in parliamentary leadership bodies, and so on? And yes, Mr. Speaker, there is a growing body of research that shows that a culture of heckling tends to drive out women parliamentarians. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, women on both sides of the aisle in this chamber have a history of working together to promote gender equality. I hope we can continue to work together to make this institution more welcoming to women.
Noting the hour, member. Noting the hour.